What it is though, y'all? It's your Southern brother, truck boy, Bud-Maverick, at you again, same day. What y'all doing for it? Hold on. This is how you do it. No, this here, this video right here gonna be for tips on how I passed my pre-trip inspection. That was the easiest part. Whoever may not have your license yet, you might be stumbling over that little hurdle right there, but when you learn a little trick or look at it a different way, you gonna be like, man, this really ain't nothing. Because when I first got into training, I was worried about the pre-trip. Driving wasn't even my worries at first until I got to my 90. But I'm not gonna say to help you, but this way help me. I figure I just tell you anyway. Ooh, I got little brown eyes, don't it? Handsome, ain't it? But now, this how me and my partner, this how we learned it when we was doing training. I would say the first thing, it'll make everything so much easier if you went around and learned the components first. Components meaning, parts of the truck or tractor. Learn the parts of the tractor first. That way it'll be easy to identify, to go and run through your pre-trip. Pretty much, anyway, during your pre-trip inspection, they not testing the truck to see the condition of the truck. They testing you. You pretty much got a role. You pretty much just acting. You reciting a play. That's how I looked at it. And you don't want to bite the whole pig at once. If that makes sense, just break it down into like sections. Cause break it down into sections. That make it a lot easier, I would say. Cause you got your wires, you got your belts, your hoses and lines, and all your other components. Like your alternator, your air compressor, all that other stuff. Everything basically gonna be, it's properly mounted. That's the terminology. You know what I'm saying? Everything basically gonna be properly mounted and secured. Most people all over say properly mounted and secured, but we said securely mounted. It's just a little shorter, and it mean the same thing. Properly mounted, secured, securely mounted, meaning it's snug, it's tight, it ain't wiggling, it ain't going nowhere. You know, but for example, I actually wrote it a little something on the notebook. It's sitting behind you. Help me remember. Like example for your wires, your wires. No matter where you see a wire at, you want to make sure you gonna say, I want to check my so and so wire, checking that it's not cut, torn, frayed, and has no sign of corrosion. For your hoses, like any type of hose y'all might have to do the pre-trip for. Like if you have some type of coolant hose or whatever type of hose it may be, your hoses not cut, torn, frayed, and no leaking. Uh, let's see. When you get to like your brake line and hoses, for example, you tie them together. You be like, I'm checking my my brake line and hoses. You don't have to be like, I'm checking my brake lines and then later I'm checking my brake hoses. If you can, tie as many components together as you can to speed up the process. No, not even to speed it up, but to make it a lot easier. Just be like, I'm checking my my brake lines and hoses to see that actually I want to check my brake lines and hoses. Okay, I want to check my hose, make sure it's not cut, torn, frayed, or leaking. And I want to make sure that my line is not cracked or broken. I want to make sure that my line is securely mounted, not cracked or broken. Any other component, pretty much all around the tractor and trailer, you want to make sure it's you name the part and say that it's securely mounted. It's properly mounted, secured, and it's not cracked or broken. I promise you, that right there, that line right there covered at least 80% of your pre-trip. I'm checking my so-and-so. I want to check that it's properly mounted, secured, it's not cracked or broken. Boom. You pretty much ran through your pre-trip. Let's see. And and when it comes to any of your coolants, like your antifreeze, if you have to, well, you gonna have to check it. I'm pretty sure they have you check that everywhere. See your antifreeze or your oil, your engine oil. For example, there you have to say something like, I want to check my coolant, yeah, my coolant tank reservoir. Your reservoir is where your oil is being, what your oil is in. I mean, you know your fluid is in. I'm checking my reservoir, make sure that it's properly mounted, secured, it's not cracked or broken, not leaking, and that when it comes to the coolants, you always want to say, I want to make sure that they properly filled to the full line. One thing about the pre-trip, you don't have to say things word for word, even though they might give you a sheet of paper. They not really looking for you to say everything word for word. They just want to make sure you know what you're talking about. So, okay, now as a is he doing this fool playing with us? But like I was saying, just to reiterate, everything you go around, you want to make sure that it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked or broken. That line right there will make everything so much easier. Because if you already know your components and you remember properly mounted, secured, not cracked or broken, you got your pre-trip, man. Just just know how to differentiate your wires, belts, hoses, and everything else. For example, I'm gonna see if I can remember mine. This is the whole right side of the engine compartment we had to do. It was only four things, only like 4 or 5 things. We opened up the hood, word for word. This is how I did it. Um, um, how did I do it? How did I do it? Oh, it's like, here's my oil. I want to check my oil dipstick. I want to make sure that it's no, what did I say? I said I want to check. This is my oil dipstick. I want to make sure that it's securely mounted and that it's properly filled to the full line. That's simple, in simplest form. Because when it comes to the oil dipstick, I mean, it ain't much you got to say about that. Make sure that it's properly filled to the full line, not leaking. I want to check my alternator. I want to make sure that it's securely, well, in y'all case, you might say properly mounted, secure. I want to check my alternator. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked or broken. And it's belt, you might got to make sure it's belt driven. Any components you name, you want to make sure that it's belt driven or gear driven. How would you know if it's belt driven or gear driven? Whatever component you name and you see like a timing belt on it, it's belt driven. Yeah, the alternator. I want to make sure my alternator is properly mounted, secured, it's not cracked or broken, and that the belt is snug to the pulley. It's no more than 3/4 of an inch of free play. How would you tell? Just push on that bad boy. One thing, you don't have to really touch the parts either, but you do have to point at them to let them know that you know what is what. They not looking for a mechanic. You're not a mechanic. I ain't gonna say you ain't, but you know what I'm saying. They not looking for a mechanic. They just want to know that you know what you're talking about. What else? Well, yeah, you pretty much. I think you pretty much get what I'm saying. Because the longer I talk, the longer I get off track. What is this man doing over there, man? Uh, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. So, yeah. But before I get up out of here, tell me one thing. Who loves you, baby? That's right. Bud, dude. Ooh, boy, look at my eyes, man. I got a thing for eyes. Look at me. Boy, I am pretty sometimes. You notice I said sometimes. Uh, Tattoos and everything going on. But I holler though, man.